every year, like any other industry, there is loss with people and legends and iconic figures. And I think that, the loss of Pat Patterson will definitely be one that we as wrestling fans and as WWE fans will be feeling for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
innovator of the Royal Rumble, one of the minds that's credited with the King of the Ring concept, the best finish man ever in pro wrestling, the man who could book anything out of any situation back in the day, and who was single-handedly the guy that was, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man. They would be basically nothing without these finishes that Pat would create for these guys back at, in the 80s and the 90s. So yeah, his loss was a very sad one to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
Yep.
Absolute genius in the industry of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's one thing that he created that I wish they would bring back, and that was the scramble match.
Oh yes,
that was such an innovative idea.
Mm-hmm. Championship scramble, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he meant so much to the WWE, and
Mm-hmm.
he contributed so much. I mean, it is just a really big loss for them.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, we look at the other names that have passed this year. Road Warrior Animal was another one. Half of the Legion of Doom. The guy who was just a very... In the 80s, there were none bigger, none better. They come to the WWF in the early 90s and continue their stalwart run. They leave, and then they come back in 97, and they pick up right where they left off. Another stalwart run
pretty
for
much.
these guys.
But I mean, they're just so iconic. Just the look that they had, and they come in with the red pads with the spikes on them. It's so iconic.
Mm-hmm. Probably the saddest one of the year, though, was Shad Gaspard, half of Crime Time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he passed away on May 17th after getting caught in a strong rip current in Venice Beach, California. He was out saving his son, who was caught in this rip current. So
that's right.
Yeah,
but I mean, he did save his son.
Yeah, and the thing is, this wasn't his first heroic deed either. The first one came in 2016. He prevented a robbery attempt at a gas station in Florida.
Yeah.
He grabbed in that instance, he grabbed the suspect's gun and restrained him until the police arrived at the scene. There's video of that up on YouTube, I remember seeing, if you go and search it. And just a genuinely nice guy, and one that especially African American and Black talent look up to, and because of the standard and the example that he set throughout the 2000s and the 2010s. That tag team Crime Time was so iconic to a lot of inner city urban youth, because they were the cool guys that made it big, right? So
yeah, exactly. And they represented that, and man, that was just such a big loss. I completely I forgot that happened this year. I didn't forget that it happened. I just forgot that it happened this year.
You look back at it, it's crazy for sure. I think I said Tracy Smothers as well, formerly Freddie Joe Floyd in the WWF way back in the day.
Tracy Smothers, yeah.
But he was big in Smoky Mountain, which was at times a developmental territory for WWE, and then
very much, yep.
And then later on in ECW, which some could argue was a developmental territory for WWE.
Absolutely it was.
Yeah, and then
was he part of the Full-Blooded Italians?
He was, yes. Him and Wildfire Tommy Rich were honorary Italians.
Yes, that's right.
Because they were looking for. Here was the thing: is that they were trying to establish that heel group in '97, and Paul was looking for Italian wrestlers that had some sort of pull and everything that people would buy. And the problem was, in the 90s, there weren't that many. Let's face it, the top two Italian wrestlers of all time were Dominic DeNucci and Bruno Sammartino, and both were in their 60s in the 90s. So ain't no way they were coming to ECW, brother.
Yeah, no, they're not coming.
Especially to do a knockoff mob gimmick. So, of all things. So he knew Tracy from their run in WCW back in the early 90s, signed Tracy on and said, "You're Italian. Go after him." So Tracy became the Big Don, I think. Or Tommy Rich, I think, became Tommy Rich became the Big Don, and Tracy Smothers was just part of the an honorary Italian of full-blooded Italians. But he would be infamous for the big dance parties or dance-offs that he would have with guys like Too Cold Scorpio, the Blue Meanie, Nova, guys like that. So, like a very comedy gimmick type thing. They put those guys out when they wanted to get the lulls and the ha-has from the audience. So,
but indeed, he was a very solid worker.
He was one of the guys who is one of his famous sayings was, "We'll start slow and we'll taper off from there." And so I can totally respect that. That man is my vibe. I like that.
There you go.
Why are we rushing? Just slow down and we'll get there when we get there, so
exactly.
Yeah. So
I'm with it.
Yeah. On December 27th, 2020, last night at about, I want to say about 8:00 Mountain Time, we got the news of the death of John Huber, FKA WWE's Luke Harper, and was currently wrestling in AEW as Mr. Brody Lee, the Exalted One, leader of the Dark Order. And Moorhouse, your thoughts on the guy? Just a talented big man, and probably one of the best big men that we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years in wrestling.
Yeah, no, he was a tremendous talent. I was actually very excited for him to come in the AEW, and he did a little bit of things before he got sick. But he definitely has a lot of Bruiser Brody quality about him. However, he was very humble person backstage. From all the reports I've read, all the wrestlers have said he was a family man, and it's just tragic that his family has to lose him, especially during the holiday season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely a shocker, and condolences and thoughts and prayers go out to his family and all of his fans and friends as well. He was well liked, as the outpouring on social media showed last night, and continues as of right now to kind of roll across. And yeah, we lost a lot of good people this year. I touched with TL in the WWE year in review about people like Pat Patterson and Tracy Smothers and Shad Gaspard over in that universe, on that side of the world, on kind of the independent wrestling / New Japan AEW side. Hana Kimura, unfortunately passing away earlier this year. I think back in what was it, April or May or something. It was in the springtime, and needless, unfortunately. It was just really bad. Victim basically of cyberbullying over there, and definitely a young talent that was going to be on the rise in Ring of Honor, and maybe somebody that we would have seen in like an AEW or definitely in New Japan and that stuff. In fact, with the announcement today of 2 dark matches for Stardom on the January 5th portion of the Wrestle Kingdom 15 card, which is pretty cool. They've upgraded from the 1. They're going to actually have 2 in the lead up. I just wish those matches were streamed on New Japan World. I don't get the stream exclusivity thing, but I think it's because they're on 2 rival networks in Japan, and that's why. But it is that in itself was fairly sad. So
yeah, it's just it's been a tough year with the whole pandemic and a lockdown, and we lost a lot of wrestlers. Some of them were COVID based that we lost, like Tony Zeus.
Yes.
We lost Zeus due to COVID. We lost Kamala due to COVID. Hawk to COVID. Or not Hawk, sorry. Animal to COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And Animal was another one that we had touched on in the WWE. Animal was another one that we touched on the WWE year in review show as well. So yeah, thoughts and prayers to all of the families out there, and remember their legacy.